So now I want to prepare some data to be imported into our database so that we can work with it. Now we have data and then this products.js, so we're actually going to use this, but there's one thing we have to do here before we can actually use it for our data seeder script that we're going to create. We need to get rid of the underscore IDs, because when data is entered into MongoDB, it automatically creates an underscore ID field, so we want to make sure we don't have them here. So let's make sure we remove all 6 of these. So that was 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so those are removed. I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to create another file in here in data, and I'm going to call it users.js. And I want to just create basically an array of 3 users, and one of them is going to be an admin. So let's say const users and set that to an array. And these users have to have only the fields that we have in our user model, or Mongoose isn't going to let us insert it into the database. So we need a name. This one I'm going to call admin user for the name, and an email. So the email I'm going to say admin at, and I'm going to use example.com for the domains. Let's do password. Now the password has to be hashed. So right now I'm just going to put this here because we're going to bring in bcrypt, which we use to hash or encrypt passwords, and we're going to do that right in here before we create our seeder to import the data. So that's just a placeholder for now. Now is admin, I'm going to set that to true for this user, and that's it. So let's copy this, and we're going to have 2 more. And we can get rid of the is admin because that's false by default, so we don't have to actually add that. And the second user I'm going to call John Doe, and let's say John. You can use whatever you want for names and stuff, but I'm just going to use John and Jane Doe just to keep it simple. I know those are names that are used for dead people, but I don't know, I use them all the time. All right, so that's our users. Now in order to hash the password, I'm just going to stop the server for a minute and say npm install, and we want to use bcrypt.js. There is just bcrypt, but we don't want to use that. We want to use bcrypt.js because with bcrypt there's more dependencies, and I've always just had issues using plain bcrypt. So we're going to use bcrypt.js. And I find that's what most people that use Node use anyway. So let's go ahead and bring that in. I'm going to say import bcrypt from, and here you want to be sure to say bcrypt.js. Now there's a few different ways to hash our passwords. Normally we want to do this asynchronously, but since this is just data that we're importing, it's not actually like a register form or something like that. I'm going to use the hash sync method, which will hash the password synchronously. And we only have 3 users, so it's okay. So let's say bcrypt.hash sync, and we're going to pass in the plain text password. I'm just going to set 1 through 6 for everybody, and a number of rounds. So the number of rounds the higher the more secure. I'm going to use 10, which I believe is the default anyway. Yeah, default to 10. So that should hash the password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to add the same for all of these people. All right, so we'll save that, and we have to make sure we export this. So export default users. All right, so now our products are all set, our users are all set. I'm not gonna seed any orders because orders are when people buy something. So we can deal with that later. I just want to have some users and products. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and create the seeder script.